Okay, so good morning. Hope you've been well rested by the night. We're going to kick off today's session with a couple of issues. First of all, in terms of Administrivia, I've been thinking about room assignments for various projects that we delineated yesterday. And I'm going to be marking those down at 8:30, but I've had to scramble to get some extra rooms available since we're not limited to 3 projects, but looks like we have that in hand now, which is good. And I'm happy to say that there'll be a number of projects, probably ultimately 6 in total, that will be pursued coming out of this. Now, these projects are exploratory. On any one project, we're not quite sure how far it will go, but that's part of the learning. As they say, fail early, fail often. Try something, learn from it, and try more. And I have no doubt that there'll be some success in some projects, and other projects may or may not flourish, but we'll give it a go and see what comes of it. At the very least, there'll be a lot of learning that takes place. And some neat ideas will unquestionably come out of the whole experience, and probably some interesting starts to models. So that will be taking place, and what that means is that I well recognize that many of you will be sort of coming in and out, opportunistically going back and forth to project rooms to see what's going on or circulating amongst those rooms. So feel free to do that. It's part of the goals of the boot camp. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, I apologize for the fact that the room wasn't open first thing in the morning. I think from now on I'm going to try to give my key to Raheem, who's here early, and that will allow him to open things up. Normally we have an IT staffer who often gets here in the morning, but he's been ill recently, and so he wasn't in quite as early as I was hoping. So again, apologies for keeping you waiting. We'll see if we can get that worked out. And Raheem, maybe you could each evening remind me to give you the key to let folks in. Thirdly, I posted a set of materials from yesterday to the Google Drive site here. Which you can go to if you want to see slides from yesterday. The models we worked with yesterday are all there. I'm also looking for a bit of an indication going forward of interest. I recognize that many of you will only be here today. A very large subset, of course, will be here the next 2 days as well, but there are some people who won't have that opportunity. And we have a day filled with lectures that I consider worthwhile and substantive. These are lectures on the interface of models with data, if you understand how empirical data comes into the picture. Discussion of differences between these sort of models, dynamic models, and statistical models that many of you will have worked with, and that in fact contribute to the building to derivation of data values for these models. But delineating what one is, what the other is helpful to understand their natural roles of application, which are each substantive and strong. We also have some discussion of trade-offs between those 3 modeling types, some on the interface of models and big data, and 1 or 2 other topics to round out the day. That's in terms of lectures in this room. And as I say, that's interesting stuff, worthy, substantive, and stuff that whoever attends, even if it's just for 2 days, I'd like to get across. At the same time, I recognize that people in the room find other things of particular interest. And the operative choice that lies before me is I was reworking the schedule last night, and I've got to decide how much of today we use for presentation of actual models that we built. models that show service delivery networks, models that use other modeling methods to characterize flow within a given facility, models that show other aspects of the care delivery process for people with chronic disease, or indeed system-wide flow. To what degree you'd be interested in kind of seeing and interacting with models, sort of like we did yesterday with a couple of models, going and poking around, seeing when they run, what they give you, that sort of thing. And to what degree you'd be more interested in using the classroom time for lectures of the sort I just mentioned, with those sort of topics. So I need a show of hands. And I would ask people, if you have any preference one way or another, to please indicate your preference so that I can make an executive decision right now on what we're going to do. So how many people would prefer to use the time in lecture today to use quite a bit of it for showing additional models, poke at them, run them, sort of take a look at what they produce? Show of hands. Okay. Okay, couple. And how many people prefer to use that time for this sort of foundational conceptual knowledge about where these models fit in, how to use them effectively, how to use them together with other methods, et cetera? Okay. Seems like our plan then is the one that I worked out last night is a solid one. I appreciate the feedback. I recognize that there's some interest in models. One thing that we will get to do with confidence is over lunch, we'll be fortunate to have Yuan Tian, who's working with Health Quality Council, in-house quality council for the ED Weights and Patient Flow Initiative, with a bit of guidance by Jeff and I. She's going to be presenting her model on patient flow, and I think she's particularly adapted it to RQHR data, and is going to be demonstrating some of the results of that over lunch. So you're definitely going to see that close up, and by suggestion of one of the TAs, I may have an additional model featured, which could bring across some conceptual sort of points that are of significance, and particularly in terms of choosing metrics and understanding that when we're dealing with these systems, we're dealing with dynamic systems where we need ways of measuring things and thinking about the system that's appropriate to that. Jeff, you haven't had any update from Winchell, have you? On okay. We'll want to get that. Yeah. Jeff, any comments from you on sort of the agenda from today?
No, I just want to mention I'll be posting my slides to the drive when you get a break.
Okay, that'll be great. Okay, fair enough. So we'll get that added as well to the slides area. Okay, so I wanted to begin my day content-wise with a bit of a retrospective, and as I am wont. So I'm going to stop this recording and